Some breaking news with the 2021 NFL Draft in Cleveland. The NFL announced today that a select number of prospects, fans, and media crews will be allowed on site as the league welcomes this year's rookie class. A three-day event from April 29th to May 1st will offer free events for fans in accordance with public officials at the state and local levels to help ensure a safe and successful draft. You see the tweet from the NFL saying, "See you soon, Cleveland." Again, those dates, April 29th through May 1st. Let's welcome in our Jonathan Jones with this breaking news. Jonathan, a little sense of normalcy with the NFL draft. What does it mean when you first heard this?
Well, it's been anticipated now for a couple of weeks. I had been speaking with agents of top prospects who had gotten word from the NFL that about 15 to 20 prospects will be invited to the NFL draft in Cleveland. So we knew that there would be some sort of in-person element. And really we've understood that the NFL has been moving that way after the success of Super Bowl 55 there in Tampa. They obviously wanted to get back to some sense of normalcy. I mentioned 15 to 20 prospects in person. There will still be a virtual aspect of this draft. I'm told a few dozen players will still have virtual at-home setups as well. I believe the league is still working out what prospects are going to be invited to the draft, who will get the virtual setup. But as we have been talking about these last couple of months, virtual is now going to be a part of our lives here in the NFL. And I think we're going to see that not just this year, but certainly moving forward into future drafts.
Virtual going to be a part of our lives probably forever after all of this. But when you think about the fact that there are now going to be prospects there are going to be fans there, what does this mean as far as the NFL season goes in 2021? Are we taking steps in the right direction here?
Yeah, we definitely are. And I think that everyone watching and listening understands that vaccinations are here and they're going up. The league itself during the draft, it's going to be a very pro-vaccine sort of message. They want to get out there, go out there and get vaccinated. And so we're going to hear and see a lot of that during the build-up to the draft and during the draft. And Jenny, it's interesting. Does this mean full stadiums at all 32 teams? That part is unclear, and that's what the league and the NFLPA couldn't necessarily agree to as they were hammering out what the salary cap was going to be in 2021. I still believe that most places, as it stands today, looking into the future of Labor Day and that time, that I'd be very surprised if we're talking about 100% capacity at more than a handful of stadiums in the NFL. I do think that we're still talking about more than half of the capacity at those stadiums. But again, very, very early, several months left to go. But again, as you mentioned, very good steps in the right direction.
And it says that folks will be required to wear face coverings and adhere to appropriate physical distancing, which is obviously so important in this day and age. Now, when you think about Cleveland in general, the fact that it's going to be at 3 superstar locations in Cleveland, including First Energy Stadium, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the Great Lakes Science Center, why do you think Cleveland is such a good backdrop for this draft?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just, it's such a cradle of football, right? And the league was very excited when they decided on Cleveland. Obviously, Cleveland was very excited. Now, Vegas, of course, was supposed to have the draft last year. And they're like, hey, guys, what about us? We still want to do the whole having draft prospects on boats and paddling on up to the stage. Vegas is still going to get theirs. There's no question about that. When their time is going to come around, the league is going to take care of them. But Cleveland, for the history of football and what football, the sport itself, has meant to that entire region, I'd have to imagine in terms of messaging, I just talked about how it's going to be a pro-vaccine message. You're going to hear a whole lot about this being the cradle of football here in America.
Not so bad with the backdrop of Lake Erie in the background of this NFL draft. Well, we're excited that fans are going to be back in attendance. JJ, thank you for joining us here on theCUBE with this breaking news as we see the NFL tweeting out, "See you soon, Cleveland," with the news that fans and prospects and media crews will be allowed on site as the league welcomes this year's rookie class, and that will go down April 29th to May 1st.
Now let's bring in our Ryan Wilson on this breaking news. And Ryan, your initial reaction here that the draft will have fans in attendance as well as prospects when you hear that?
Yeah, Jenny and JJ touched upon it, Brandon. It feels like things are starting to get back to normal. JJ talked about the pro-vaccine message that the NFL and the NFL draft people are going to be pushing during this late April, early May event. And I just think it's great news. The vaccinations have started. They've been going on for several months now. Ohio is 24% vaccinated, 13% full vaccination. They're now at the point where people 40 and over can get vaccinated. I probably should move to Ohio so I can get my vaccine and get headed there. But I think it's great news after what's been more than a year of trying to figure out how this all works, what we can and can't do. An entire NFL season where there were virtually hardly any fans in the stands, usually no fans in the stands, depending on the stadium. And it now feels like after the Senior Bowl was a watered-down event in terms of media participation, after the Combine was canceled and changed to sort of regional locations, we have a draft, Brandon, that's going to look a lot like what we're accustomed to seeing, with the great parts of in-person and also some of the good parts that we discovered last year with the virtual experience. And I think that together, it gets us one step closer to feeling like things are quote-unquote back to normal.
We got about a minute here, Ryan. I want to take a look at your mock draft. And when you look at some of those top 10 guys, you think about last year, they didn't have a chance to walk across the stage and shake the commissioner's hand. But when you look at guys like Trevor Lawrence all the way down to Penei Sewell, chances we might see all these guys in attendance there for the opportunity of a lifetime?
It'd be fantastic, Brandon. And we'll see what happens. Sometimes top picks, no matter the sort of pandemic situation, choose to stay at home. But a Trevor Lawrence walking across the stage, a Justin Fields from Ohio State, who originally from Georgia, walking across that stage in Ohio would certainly be a big deal, a big accomplishment, it feels like, in terms of fighting the pandemic, overcoming the pandemic, and like I said, trying to get back to some sense of normalcy.
All right, Ryan Wilson on the breaking news of possibly having fans and also prospects in attendance in Cleveland. Of course, the draft starting on April 29th. Appreciate your time as always.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.